Hi there. Of course, my name's Nahu. Tonight I want to talk to you about the traveling that we do when we go to sleep at night we call dreaming. There are many different levels to dreaming. The most outstanding level and most clear level is the one we normally refer to as lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming, though, is only a prelude to traveling interdimensionally to other worlds. Very few people remember those dreams because those specific areas are filtered out by our normal consciousness. As we come closer to the physical plane, the waves become denser and denser and denser until moving into the physical, they acquired what we call the particulate or physical and or Maya body. The Maya body is the one we live in here in this three-dimensional matrix, spanned by a sphere we call time. Time has dimensions to it in itself that scientists know very little of, perhaps nothing, made up of what I call simultaneous time. Simultaneous time is holistic time. It's a space that contains all times in it. Mystics know about this. Many people out there, I'm sure many of you that are listening to this are aware of these other dimensions, have had experiences. I'm talking to all those people who are aware of traveling outside their body, traveling interdimensionally, or traveling into various states of awareness, and to those who only have very little experience with it, and to those also who know nothing about it. I'm not really talking to those people who assume that they already know everything about it and that my theory doesn't fit into it. Mine is not a theory per se. What I'm saying is I know what takes place interdimensionally because I've been there, I've experienced it. I'm aware of these interdimensional planes or areas and know how to navigate them. Learning to navigate them is an art that an individual needs to learn, and I want to teach you how to navigate the holoversal space. Holoversal space takes place every time we start to dream, and there's many levels of dreaming: fantasizing, daydreaming, dream itself, and also lucid dreaming, another level. We pass through an interdimensional doorway. Many people, like Michael Talbot, for example, mention the idea that we live in a frequency domain. In a sense, our senses themselves are a resonant frequency analyzer. This analyzer that our senses are collectively joined within the central nervous system and perceived by the ego eye or the self decides upon what frequencies or which frequencies to believe in or to relate to or to make contact with, and thereby navigates to this physical reality we call the present. You've got to understand that this present is constantly being reconstructed, because without this constant reconstruction by this frequency generation that we do with our psyches and our egos and our identity eyes here, we wouldn't be able to stay here in the physical plane. Therefore, when we leave the physical plane, whether we die, whether we go out of the body, whether we fantasize or dream, or we alter our consciousness in some normal or artificial way, we are, in a sense, redirecting these instruments called our senses. These instruments we call our senses have a corresponding element to them inwardly, within our inner selves. Seth Jane called them the inner senses. They're just channel masters, let's say, part of our internal consciousness that connects us to these internal realities and helps focus or direct us away from the physical and into these other realms. We can use these to navigate in the physical, and we constantly get information from extra-dimensional sources and feed these inner senses in our everyday life. But normally we're not privy to them, we're not conscious of them, or at least we filtered most of that information out. What we're striving to do here in the physical is to navigate the physical. That's why we're here, is to learn to navigate the three-dimensional realm we call the physical. But the three-dimensional realm is encapsulated in a called time. Time is universal, or holoversal, let's say, meaning it's simultaneous, it's holistic. It contains all things within itself, all spaces, let's say, within it. But outside of it is another sphere. First, let's talk about time inwardly. When you turn inwardly away from what we call physical time, which is linear time, past, present, future time, you enter simultaneous time, where all times come together in a huge mixing bowl or pool. This mixing bowl or pool is like a holographic photograph, and it has many different slides in it that are frequencies or waves, or wavelets as they're called in holography. All these waves meshing and mixing together in this huge mixing bowl of the inner self are coming from a lot of other dimensions where frequencies are emanating. As they mix and merge here, our consciousness, our inner consciousness, the inner senses, help us to find these pathways that take us into these other spaces where we meet and communicate with other beings, other selves, other parts of our beinghood and other dimensions, our relatives who passed over, future selves. There's an admixture of symbols, both from our individual psychic memory banks and from the collective unconscious, from all times and spaces, and also from the other spaces where information has been collected. And then we navigate through those, and from those, if we learn how to operate consciously in those spaces, we can get information about our future and about ourself from multidimensional levels. I call this inward space a hypercube. That's what I've been taught by my interdimensional teachers. It's a hypercube, and it's connected just like the cube was in the movie Cube to infinite other kinds of pathways and spaces, that if you take one, you automatically find yourself in another. It's an interdimensional channel that contains infinite number of channels. That's why I say we live in an infinitely bifurcating universe, or holoverse, meaning it's constantly branching, like a river that branches in lots of smaller streams and waterways, eddies, if you will, and connecting us to all kinds of other spaces and times.